Okay, cool. How are they going to meet? What's going to happen? Are they going to stay together? What's the deal?
My man shot it over, and he was swinging across the Gorge with some booty. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Mission Movie Reviews, Real Talk. I'm Barry Gaines.
You homie Jay Green.
And today we're going to review the movie The Gorge. Starring Miles Teller and Anna Taylor-Joy, and also guest starring Sigourney Weaver. And she was in there like for a 2-day rate or something. I mean, she was in there for a little bit. She was in and out, but she made an impact. You know, that is Sigourney Weaver. And this was directed by a Scott Derrickson, who also did Black Phone and he did Doctor Strange. So the guy got some credit, and you can really feel it in this film. The texture, the feel, the pace. Fantastic film. Justin, what do you think about this one, bro?
So I've wanted to see this movie for a while, right? I said in my review, I wanted to see it for a while, but I didn't have Apple TV Plus at the time. So finally I'm sitting down to watch it, right? And I really enjoyed the movie, but what's weird about it is like, as I'm watching the movie, I'm keep getting pulled like in and out of it. Like, wait a minute, because I didn't really know what it was about. All I knew was that Anna Taylor-Joy is on one end, Miles Teller's on the other, something jumping off in the gorge. You know, we got to keep it down there, whatever it is, right? So I had no idea what this movie was actually all about, how it was going to unfold. But I'm assuming it's going to be kind of monster type swag, you know, suspense thriller, whatever, maybe a little bit of action. And it does have that for sure. But it felt like, as the movie was going along, you get the information for the main characters up top, and you're like, all right, cool, we're on this ride, we're ready to go. Then it'll pivot to like straight romance novel type swag, right? Straight love story. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for that. I like these two. They're good actors. They're selling it. It's cool. You know what I mean? And then you have the added mix of them having to speak across the gorge, kind of like they're pen pals or some shit like that, right?
You're right.
But they're speaking in real time, of course. Then it'll go into action. Then it'll go back to the love. Then back into the action. So I found myself like kind of being pulled out of the moment of the movie as a whole each time it flipped the script, but still engaged and entertained by each time it was in its own little pocket. So whenever it was like love, I was like, okay, cool. How are they going to meet? What's going to happen? Are they going to stay together? What's the deal? And then when it was action, I'm like, oh shit, that was crazy. This is dope. You know what I'm saying? And then so I did like it, but it was also weird at the same time. But then with Scott Derrickson directing, like you said, Black Phone 1 and 2, Doctor Strange, he did Sinister, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he's definitely got a dope look and aesthetic to his films. So the action is sold very well in the way it was directed. The look and the swag of even when they're doing like the back and forth love story type stuff doesn't look like your typical romance movie. It looks like a spy, espionage, thriller, you know, horror movie. So I'm like, I'm down with the aesthetics for sure. And then the whole aspect of what's jumping off in the gorge, right? And we can maybe address some spoilers later, but the whole thing about what's jumping off in the gorge, I was like, yo, that's pretty fly. So I feel like it was kind of like 3 different stories in one. You got the love, you got the action and suspense, and then you got the sci-fi elements of what's jumping off in the gorge. You know what I mean? So I was definitely entertained throughout. There was like laughable, unintentional laughable moments for me, but I was very entertained, and I had a lot of fun with this one for sure.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I love the aesthetic of it, like you was mentioning. There's one thing that I love was how he made, like Scott Derrickson, you know, his directing style is that when he puts you in an environment, the environment feels just like what creature or whatever is the issue that's going on within that scene or in the film. You know, everything feels that way. So if you notice that, if you watch the film, as in the beginning when Miles Teller is speaking with the other cat that's in there that he's replacing, they're walking through the forest, right? And the forest is kind of green and everything else. As they get closer to the gorge, like getting closer to the station, everything starts to be turning gray. We're talking about like the trees start turning gray, like just the texture of everything starts to feel what the monsters are. And that's what I loved about it. Not as if, you know, it's beauty's outside and all of the worst things are below and nothing really kind of meshes. But I noticed that, and it gives you the feel of like, okay, this is dark all the way. And you're right. When it comes down to the romance part, I personally didn't have a problem much with it at all because he made it very realistic. People didn't just jump in and start falling in love, jump in, and next thing you know, she's like all about it. they had this little backstory for each of them that kind of gave you an idea of who these people are, which I liked. It was in and out. I mean, 30 seconds you're in, okay, I understand what's happening. And as they started to kind of get together, it makes a lot of sense, because if you're by yourself and there's one person there and it's just you for months, yeah, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to put some effort in this shit, man. I need a friend, you know what I mean? And whatever it is, I'm going to try to like achieve this goal of mine of being a friendship with somebody. And it's funny. I'm looking at it, right? And I'm like, that's us as men, man. That's us as men. So, and what I mean by that is he is looking at her. He's like talking with her, right? They're riding because they're so far apart. They can't like yell. They can't hear each other. Mm-hmm. So my man's like, yo, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to have to get a piece of this. My man got his rope. He got this whole thing. It looked like it was a Rambo moment. He got his gear together and whatnot. Got close-up shot. My man shot it over and he was swinging across the Gorge for some booty.
He straight MacGyvered that missile, right? He took out the detonation parts.
It's like so dangerous. He's like, I'm going to get some today. That's so typical. I'm going to get that ass. So I was like, that's so typical, man. It's so funny. But at the same, like you said, it was just a funny moment because I was looking at that and I was like, yeah, that's us. But but when he was there, he was a gentleman and he did what he had to do, and she was very like, I'm just not going to jump on this, So they at least they gave us a moment of, well, I should say they gave us a story of how things kind of with them kind of climbed up. It wasn't like all of a sudden they're on top of each other kissing like some movies. It's like, come on, man, really? So nothing really gets hot until like maybe later. But yeah, but when it comes down to the creatures though. And when they went down to the Gorge, now that was really well done. And other thing I liked was every time they went into a spot in the Gorge, it looked like it had its own face, its own color, its own texture, although all the textures were very similar. But those moments really made you feel as if, this is something totally different. Like it's not just one creature, one place, one thing. It is things going on. But then you see a history in the Gorge. You start seeing like cars, right? Was it cars and things? So you say, okay, so hold on. Was this a place at one time? Was this a village or something? And if it was, how in God's name did it get into a gorge? Was there a road that went in? Was it a little town in between the mountains? So there was a whole backstory they can actually, build on if they really want to make one. And I don't think they're going to make another one. But all of that made it a little creepier, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It's a cool concept, not just down there in the forest and whatnot, and just kind of like go for it like Predator. You actually, there's some stuff going on here. So I like that they actually at least gave us a chance to say, hey, listen, if you want more, there's more story down there. If you want more, we will put it down there just in case we have to kind of go back. So yeah, and of course, you got to throw the government in there, right? These things, the government is always the problem, right? Yeah. So we got some of that, and that's Sigourney. So yeah, I
like that. Too, bro. I always like movies that can kind of put you in an area of the world that like nobody really goes, and you fly over these areas in planes, and you're like, I wonder what's really going on down there. You know what I'm saying? And then of course, like whenever you put the government in the mix, trying to cover up their mess, which is like what was jumping off there, I'm like, I like that aspect. I like that understanding of like the government messed up. They're not going to tell nobody. They're going to try. They can't kill all this stuff down here. So it's super threatening. So we're just going to try to quarantine it. So I like that whole concept of what was in the gorge and how threatening it was. But like I was saying, things that kept pulling me in and out, like I said, I was on board with him shooting the cable across there, trying to go get it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm nervous because I'm like, dude, you still got to go back. Like, what's going to jump off? And then when they fall in there, when they have to go into the gorge and try to fight things off, that was dope. But at the same time, you're also kind of scratching your head, like, hold on a minute, you couldn't just climb up that rope. So we're gonna go get a Jeep Compass, you know what I'm saying, and attach the harness and have it trail up there, and then they're fighting. That's a lot of work. But I said in my review, I was like, as insane as this was, and I'm calling it out like left and right, like looking at my wife, like, what the hell are we watching right now? But I'm like, I'm so on board. It was just like the way that it was written, the way that they acted in it, the way that it looked, the aesthetics, the concepts, everything. This is one of those movies where you can point at it and be like, all right, this is a little cheesy, a little silly at times, but at the same time, I can't honestly say I wasn't into it, and I can't honestly say I didn't take it serious when it wanted me to. And there's a couple moments where I'm like, it's a little cheese, but yeah, it was a fun watch. It was definitely a fun watch. I liked it.
It was exciting. It gave you what it was supposed to be. It wasn't like you said too. Some things like, yo, what really? But it wasn't so far out there. You couldn't see the logic in it. You know what I mean? If you did it,
And I'll also say, like, I feel like if in the Gorge it had been some type of monster or some shit like that, that could have been cool. You could have done that well, but we already have a lot of monster movies. King Kong, Godzilla, all that sort of stuff, the kaijus and whatnot. We already have a lot of that. So for them to do, again, kind of like a Chernobyl type situation, a meltdown that starts messing with people's biological, chemical mass and everything, and they're blended with whatever, that was like, again, unique, kind of original. I was like, okay, cool. I'm here for that. So it felt a little bit better. And then for them, and then to see them having to deal with all that sort of stuff was cool as well. So, yeah.
No, it was. And it always works when you have like many monsters. It just makes it just more tense. It gives it more tense. It makes it more tense. So, so the Gorge was fun. It was a fun ride. I mean, it really was. If they make another one, I'll watch it. And also, if you guys out there, there's another Apple movie called The Tomorrow War. It came out like 2 years ago, whatever, like that. Written by the same. That was really, really good. And the reason I brought it up because Zach, what's his name? Zach Dean wrote both of those. So he wrote this one, he wrote that one. So the guy can write. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, we enjoyed it, man. So what'd you guys think? Tell us below. Check out Gorge. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. Let us know what you think about this film. Because on top of that, I think this could have been in the theaters. Like, Apple's putting out stuff that could have been in the theaters, and we have to say, yo, listen, just put it in the theaters, man. You know what I mean?
Like the quality throughout the film and the from the writing in this movie, the direction, the acting, the aesthetics, everything definitely could have been in the theaters for sure. And I think it would have been a great date night movie because you got the action and you got the romance combination.
Right. And you didn't have to think too much. It's like, you could have went to the bathroom, came back and caught up. It's just a fun thing. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, I get it. So anyone out there, if you haven't seen it, see it. Let us know what you think. The Gorge is one of those movies that people want to forget about. That's really good. Don't forget about this one. Do check it out and let us know what you think. So thank you again for everyone who has gotten this far. And we'll see you next on our next Mission Movie Reviews Real Talk. Of course. All right, man. Peace.
Deuce.